at some fractions. I don't know what to do. Do I have the same denominator? Yes, I do. Well, it's easy if they're the same. That's okay. I know fractions brings you the blues. Does for lots of people. So this is going to be a summary video of the 3 different situations when you are adding or subtracting fractions. Subtraction, you have to have the same things happen. We just subtract instead of add. So let's get going right off the bat with some adding of the fractions. Remember, denominator is on the bottom. This is the denominator. Top is called the numerator. Lots of different tools to go over that. Remember, we've talked about them. Now you just got to know them. All right, so let's take a look at some same denominator fractions. So 1 over 7 plus 3 over 7. 1 over 6 plus 4 over 6. Now we're only going to be dealing with proper fractions in this video. So no mixed numbers. Remember, a mixed number is when I have a big number in front and then a fraction. And no improper fractions, which is like 9 over 4. Where the denominator is actually smaller than the numerator. We are not going to deal with those. All right, we're just going to learn the technique first. So remember, if I have one felt and I take another felt, how many felts do I have? Cha-pow! 2. If I take 2 keys and I add 2 keys, I have magically 4 keys. So if I have 1/7 and I add 3/7, just add the tops. The hardest thing to remember is that the bottom stays the same. This is 1/7 of a piece of pie plus 3/7. That gives me, well, 1 plus 3 gives me 4 over 7. The denominators stay the same. See that? Magic. If you start adding up denominators, it does not work like the proofs I showed you in class. Let's do this one. Same denominator. Remember this trick? Hide the top. Don't even need to see it at the start. 6 and 6, it's going to give me sixths. Sixths. It's a hard thing to say. So I look at the top. I have 1 plus 4. Add the tops. I get 5 over 6. Guys, it literally is that easy. So if you have the same bottoms, do I have the same denominator? Remember, that was the one question you have to ask when you're adding fractions. Maybe that's what my song should have been about. Do I have the same denominator? If they are, add the tops, add the numerators. Now, over here, if we have different denominators, it starts to get a little trickier because we can't actually add different denominators. Remember, that's like adding 1/4 to 1/2. They're not even close to the same. Well, they are close to the same in this case. But it's like adding, well, the classic one is apples and oranges. If they have the different denominator, they're not the same. But what we can do is we can write an equivalent fraction. Again, this is not the video for equivalent fractions. I'll film another one of those at another time. So different denominators, we have 2 big setups. The first one is if the denominators are factors and multiples. If the answer is yes, then we can come over here. If the answer is no, then we have to use a different technique. Same technique, but there's a couple different ways. I'm going to show you the rule of 4 that I taught in class. You can apply the similar thing we're going to do with factors and multiples though. So here we go. Let's take a look at some examples. Let's do 1 over 4 plus 2 over 8. So we can see here that 4 times 2 gives me 8. So that means 4 is a factor of 8. So if 4 is my factor, hey, then we can actually make these equivalent fractions. Now there's a couple of rules with equivalent fractions. I know, rules and rules and rules. When we make an equivalent fraction, fractions, is what I do to the top or do to the bottom, I do to the top. Keep that. Hear my voice in your head. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So we have to find something called the lowest common denominator, LCD. Lowest common denominator. When we have a multiple or a factor like this, it's easy. It's going to be generally the biggest one. There are situations where you can use the smaller one, but for our scope and sequence, let's just take the bigger one. So if one number goes into the other, we are going to use that as our lowest common denominator. Okay? Now, I'm actually going to go to a different piece of paper here. I just want you to see the big three. 1, same denominator. 2, factor multiple. And if they're not factors or multiple, that's when we use number 3. Let's take a look at different denominator adding. I'm going to do it this way so I can set up 2 different setups. Yep. We're going to do one stacked and one, what is it called? Not stacked. It's actually called horizontal. Horizontal. You choose which one you like. I'm going to do them both at the same time though, if I can keep them both on my sheet. So let's do that same question. We had 1 over 4 plus 2 over 8. Now we recognize this as 8 being the multiple, right? 8 is a multiple of 4. Right? So we're going to use that as our denominator. Make a nice long line, just like we did when we were doing same denominator. We have one denominator now. So now, this is where it gets fun, because we have to start to account for how we get 8. So I want you to draw a little arc from 4 to 8. This is just in the first little bit so you understand. What do I have to do to get from 4 to 8? Well, I'm going to multiply that by 2. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. It's a common thing in math. What we do to one side, we do to the other. What we do on the bottom, we do to the top. I have to multiply that by 2. 1 times 2, you can even write the 1 in there if you want. 1 times 2 is 2. Great. Now, let's do the next one. How do I get from 8 to 8? Well, I times it by 1. So this one, I times this by 1. 2 times 1 is 2. What operation? Plus. 2 plus 2 is 4 over 8. Now remember, 2/8 is the same as 1/4. Those are the equivalent fractions we worked on last week. Right? And again, I will post a video. I've had some people ask for that. But so if you put 1/4 into a calculator, you're going to get 0.25. If you put 2/8 into a calculator, you'll get the same answer. So for those of you who are just starting this, that's your answer. If you want to go the next level, we talked about how to simplify fractions. So what number goes into 4 and 8? Well, I know that because we did it over here. 4 goes into 8. So we can divide this by 4. What I do to the top, I do to the bottom. It's going to be 1/2. This is the ideal end. Now let's do it stacked, because this is a little bit different. Same problem. 1 over 4 plus 2 over 8 equals. Now again, we have to find the equivalent. I have different denominators. Can't have that. So what are we going to do? Yeah, I know, it's very obvious now. We're going to take the 8. So we're going to actually rewrite these as an equivalent fraction out of 8. Now for some people this gets a little simpler because I just go straight across. This is times 2. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So that gives me 2/8. Down here, well, that's just the same number. And my answer, I'm going to divide this all by 8. The denominators don't change. Where have I heard that, Mr. Paul? I remember. Same denominators. 7 plus 7, I still have 7s at the end. That's why we're doing all this fancy stuff. So here, I get 2 plus 2 now gives me 4 over 8. I can reduce it if I want. Let's do another one. And I'm going to actually ask you to pause the video and try it on your own. So let's go 3/5 plus 4, no, that's, yeah, 4/15 equals. Okay, pause the video, try it. Then when I come back, I'll do it with you. 3/5 plus 4/15. Now, before you leave, one big thing. If you don't try this and try it and get it wrong, that's when you're not going to learn and you're not going to move forward. You have to be willing to try something and get it so wrong that you have no idea what you're doing. Go for it. Bling! Welcome back after the pause. So we're looking at this. Remember, do I have the same denominator? No. Is one a factor of the other? Yes, it is. 5 goes into 15. So let's do our magic thing. We know 15 is going to be our bottom. They both go into 15. That is my lowest common denominator. All right? Now, here we go. How many times does 5 go into 15? Times 3. Use your sheet if you need to. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 3. Remember, you can even write in the 3. 3 times 3 gives me 9. I'm going to add that to the other one. Well, 5 goes into 15. Well, that's just the number. It's times 1. 4 times 1 is going to give me 4. My answer, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 divided by 15. Can we simplify? Look, the answer, still the same denominator. Can I simplify? Hope you said no. The answer is why? 13 is a prime number. He only has one friend. His name is Juan. Very good. All right, let's do this one. I know my common denominator is going to be 15 equals 15. We have to make our equivalent fractions. And watch this. I'm even going to put that right down below. Equivalent fractions. 5 to 15 is times 3. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. This one here is just the number, so this moves over. 9 plus 4, 13. There's our answer. I hope this helps you in your adventures. Big thing over here, when they're horizontal, you can just go like this. They're not the same. I can't proceed. I must get the common denominator. Over here, you can actually use your 2 fingers to do the same thing. Say I have 4 and 8, those are not the same. If I go over here, 8 and 8, those are the same. All right, good luck, guys. That's how you do factors and multiple addition. I'll be doing rule of 4 in the next video.